During the years when the Buddha was enlightening sentient beings, Ananda, as one of the Buddha's closest disciples, was renowned for his keen intelligence and exceptional memory, earning the deep trust and affection of the Buddha. Whenever the Buddha delivered sermons and teachings, Ananda always stood quietly beside him, deeply remembering the Buddha's instructions in his heart. However, although Ananda was regarded by outsiders as a distinguished disciple of the Buddha, his inner mind was often troubled by a fundamental question. On the intricate and complex path of cultivation, how does one discern authentic Dharma from counterfeit teachings? With the widespread dissemination of Buddhist teachings, various schools emerged accordingly. Some sects advocate rigorous asceticism, believing that only through the discipline of the body can one attain refined transcendence. Some emphasize internal spiritual cultivation, advocating for achieving liberation of the mind through meditation and contemplation. Some others advocate complex rituals and rules, claiming that these are shortcuts to nirvana. These sects each uphold their own views, mutually criticizing each other's shortcomings, claiming that only their own teachings represent the true transmission of the Buddha's Dharma. Faced with such a complex situation, even a senior disciple like Ananda could not help but feel confused. He had often listened covertly to other practitioners' dialogues with the Buddha and had also personally attended debates among eminent monks from various schools. However, these experiences not only failed to dispel his doubts, but instead deepened his confusion. He continuously pondered the same question in his mind. Among the numerous teachings that claim to represent the Dharma, how can one discern which is the true Buddha Dharma? The monks of Pandya often say that true Dharma lies in the precise recitation and understanding of the scriptures. Practitioners of the Gaya tradition believe that only through strict asceticism can one approach the wisdom of the Buddha, while some monks from the East assert that the essence of the Dharma lies in cultivating the emotions of compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Each viewpoint seems to have its own reason, yet all appear to lack some more fundamental element. Ananda once attempted to find commonalities among these views, but was never able to clarify the matter. On a spring morning, Ananda walked with the Buddha in the forest near Bodh Gaya. A spring breeze brushes the face, carrying the scents of earth and blossoms. Among the branches and leaves, the clear cries of birds resonate. Ananda, gazing upon the Buddha's serene countenance, suddenly felt that this moment was the perfect opportunity to inquire about the long troubling question. The Blessed One, Ananda spoke softly, his tone filled with reverence and longing. I have a question in my heart, and I wonder if I may seek your guidance. The Buddha slightly nodded, signaling him to continue. Around us, more and more people claim to have grasped the true essence of the Dharma, yet their teachings differ, and some even contradict one another. As a practitioner, how can I discern which teachings truly represent the genuine Dharma? And how can I be certain that the path I follow will lead to genuine liberation? Ananda asked, his eyes full of sincere eagerness to learn. The Buddha, upon hearing this, did not respond immediately. He stopped walking and cast his gaze towards the distant woods, as if contemplating how to answer this profound question in the simplest way. After a brief silence, the Buddha bent down to pick up a fallen leaf from the ground, carefully holding it in his palm. Ananda, look at this leaf, the Buddha said, raising the leaf before Ananda, his voice calm yet powerful. Within this small leaf lies the mystery of the entire universe. Though insignificant, it is a part of the perfect functioning of nature. It dances with the wind, follows the changes of the four seasons, and ultimately returns to the earth. This leaf teaches us that all existence is interconnected. Nothing is eternal and unchanging, and nothing can exist independently. Ananda gazed at the leaf in the Buddha's hand, but in his heart, he could not understand how it related to his question. As he was about to speak, the Buddha continued, True Dharma is not complex dogma or ornate speech, but a profound insight into the nature of life. Just like this leaf, the essence of the Dharma lies in its naturalness and authenticity, rather than in artificial adornments and constructions. The words of the Buddha were like a lightning bolt, illuminating a corner deep within Ananda's heart. Yet he still could not fully comprehend the Buddha's meaning. What is the relationship between leaves and the Dharma? How can this ordinary leaf help him distinguish between true and false Buddhist teachings? The Blessed One, Ananda cautiously asked, I, your disciple, do not quite understand how this leaf is related to discerning the authenticity of the Buddha's teaching. Could the Blessed One please provide further teachings? The Buddha smiled gently at Ananda, his eyes filled with compassion and wisdom. Ananda, what do you think this leaf is? Ananda reflected for a moment and responded truthfully. This is an ordinary leaf composed of root, stem, and veins. It absorbs sunlight to produce nourishment and will eventually wither, returning to the earth. Very good. The Buddha nodded in approval, acknowledging that you have perceived its physical form and natural laws. Upon deeper reflection, what does the existence of this leaf reveal to us? Ananda once again fell into deep contemplation, gazing intently at the ordinary leaf, striving to discern a deeper meaning within it. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. The existence of this leaf is the result of the convergence of causes and conditions. It requires the nourishment of sunlight, moisture, air, and the earth. It depends on the potential of the seed and the changes of the seasons. None of these can exist independently. Indeed, the Buddha affirmed, you have touched upon one of the core principles of the Dharma, the law of dependent origination. All phenomena are interdependent and nothing can exist independently. This is precisely the first mark of true Dharma, the impermanence of all conditioned things. All phenomena in the world are in constant flux. Nothing is eternal and unchanging. Ananda realized that the Buddha was using this leaf to expound the true essence of the Dharma. He began to understand that the Buddha was not offering him a simple answer, but guiding him to think and realize for himself. Then, Venerable One, what are the other distinguishing marks of the Dharma? Ananda earnestly inquired, hoping to gain a deeper understanding of the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha placed a leaf in his palm, gently tracing its veins, and continued, the second sign is all dharmas. Seemingly independent phenomena, in reality, possess no inherent and unchanging essence. Just like this leaf, although we call it a leaf, it itself is composed of countless tiny elements. It is the result of the combined influences of sunlight, moisture, air, and other factors. It does not possess an independent self-nature, but is a product of dependent origination and the conjunction of causes and conditions. Ananda nodded thoughtfully, beginning to grasp the profound meaning of the Buddha's teachings. The words of the Buddha are not merely about leaves, but about the essence of all things, including humanity itself. The third characteristic is nirvana. The Buddha continued, when we truly understand the truths of impermanence and non-self, and let go of attachment to anything eternal and unchanging, the mind can attain a state of peace that transcends suffering. This is not an escape from reality, but a transcendence born from profound understanding of reality. The fourth characteristic is tranquility. True inner peace is not a product of external conditions, but arises from the realization of truth and a profound understanding of impermanence and non-self. When you're no longer swayed by external changes and cease to cling to the self, you can find true peace within your heart. Ananda listened quietly, deeply sensing the wisdom contained within the Buddha's words. He gradually understood that true Dharma does not lie in external forms and rituals, but in whether it can help practitioners realize the essence of life and guide them toward inner awakening and liberation. Venerable Ananda respectfully asked, some practitioners claim that through specific practices they can attain psychic powers or supernatural abilities. Are these also part of the Dharma taught by the Buddha? The Buddha's expression grew solemn and profound as he placed the pages back on the ground and slowly said, Ananda, supernatural powers and miraculous abilities are merely phenomena that may arise during practice, but they are not the essence of the Dharma. When practitioners excessively pursue these external manifestations, they often deviate from the right path. The true Dharma aims to guide people beyond attachment to the sensory world, to realize the nature of the mind, and ultimately attain liberation. Ananda said, "Some people pursue supernatural powers because their hearts still desire control over forces. Some are attached to rituals because they seek external validation. Others become engrossed in theoretical debates because they hope to attain a sense of security through intellectual activities. However, none of these are the true purpose of the Dharma. The ultimate goal of the Dharma is to help sentient beings realize the true nature of life, transcend suffering, and attain genuine liberation." Ananda silently contemplated the Buddha's words, recalling how he had seen some practitioners boast about their supernatural powers, become obsessed with intricate theoretical debates, or even quarrel endlessly over minute doctrinal details. Now he understands that none of these are the true essence of the Dharma. Then, Venerable Ananda asked again, "How should I apply these criteria in my daily practice to discern true Dharma from false?" The Buddha smiled and answered, "First, observe whether a teaching acknowledges the impermanent nature of all phenomena in the world, and whether it recognizes that all phenomena arise from dependent origination. Secondly, it is important to assess whether it can help practitioners reduce attachment to the self and guide people to transcend a narrow personal perspective. Again, observe whether practitioners become more compassionate, freer, and wiser after practicing this teaching. Lastly, and most importantly, one must see whether it can truly help people alleviate inner suffering and bring lasting peace and harmony." Ananda suddenly realized that what the Buddha had given him was not a simple answer, but a practical set of criteria for discernment. These standards do not rely on authority or tradition, but are based on practice and experience. Anyone can verify through personal practice whether a teaching is truly the genuine Dharma. Ananda asked again, if a certain teaching meets these criteria in some respects but falls short in others, can it still be considered part of the Dharma? The Buddha nodded affirmatively. "Ananda, the Dharma is like a vast ocean, deep and boundless. Different teachings are like various rivers leading to the ocean. They all ultimately converge into the same sea. One doctrine may emphasize certain aspects more while being somewhat lacking in others. This does not imply that it is entirely wrong. What is important is whether its fundamental direction is correct and whether it can help practitioners gradually move toward awakening and liberation. Just as a doctor prescribes different medicines for different illnesses, different teachings are needed for sentient beings with varying capacities. Some people are suited to understand the Dharma through rational thinking. Others are inclined to realize the truth through emotional experience. And still others require strict behavioral discipline to purify their body and mind. These different methods are not contradictory to each other. Rather, they complement one another. Ananda was deeply moved by the Buddha's wisdom and began to understand that the Dharma is not a rigid doctrine, but a wisdom flexibly applied according to the needs of sentient beings. True Dharma is not about uniformity of form, but about whether it can help sentient beings transcend suffering and attain liberation. The Blessed One, Ananda asked again, if a practitioner claims to have attained enlightenment or claims that their teachings are superior to others, how should we discern the truth or falsehood of such statements? In the Buddha's eyes gleamed the light of wisdom. Ananda, a true knower does not flaunt their achievements, just as a true strong person does not deliberately show off their strength. Observe this person's words and actions to see whether they have truly transcended attachment to the self, whether they maintain an equanimous mind toward worldly honor and disgrace, gain and loss, and whether they possess unconditional compassion and wisdom. True enlightened beings do not belittle the practice of others nor excessively emphasize the superiority of their own teachings, for they deeply understand that the Dharma is meant to benefit sentient beings, not to satisfy personal vanity. Ananda could not help but recall some practitioners he had encountered, among whom some claimed to have attained special states, yet their behavior was filled with arrogance and prejudice. Now he understands that true sages are humble and peaceful. Their wisdom naturally manifests in everyday speech and actions without deliberate display. The Buddha looked at Ananda's thoughtful expression and continued, "Ananda, the most important thing is not to blindly believe anyone's words, including my teachings. You should verify everything through your own wisdom and practice. Only the truth experienced firsthand truly belongs to your own wisdom." These words deepened Ananda's admiration for the Buddha's magnanimity and wisdom. The Buddha did not wish his disciples to blindly worship him or his teachings, but rather encourage them to attain true insight through their own reflection and practice. This attitude of encouraging critical thinking, in Ananda's view, is precisely the precious aspect of the Buddha's teaching. Remember, Ananda, the Buddha's voice is like a gentle breeze, tender yet powerful. The purpose of the Dharma is liberation, not comfort. Any teaching that attempts to control others' minds through fear, threats, or blind faith is not true Dharma. True Dharma should inspire people's wisdom rather than suppress their thinking. It should cultivate people's compassion rather than nurture their prejudices. It should help people transcend suffering rather than create new afflictions. Ananda respectfully bowed his head, etching the Buddha's teachings into his heart. He felt his vision broaden and his mind become clear. The questions that once troubled him have now found their answers under the guidance of the Buddha's wisdom. The Buddha gently picked up the leaf and handed it back to Ananda. This leaf teaches us not only the principles of impermanence and non-self, but also the preciousness and wonder of life. Every single leaf is unique, just as every life has its specific causes and conditions, as well as its destined purpose. Buddhism is similar in this regard. It may manifest in various forms across different cultures and eras, but its essence, helping sentient beings recognize the truth of life, transcend suffering, and attain liberation, remains constant. Ananda took the leaf, carefully examining its veins and colors. This ordinary leaf was no longer merely a part of a plant to him. It had become a symbol embodying profound wisdom. He reminded him that truth often resides in the simplest and most ordinary things, as long as we possess enough wisdom and patience to uncover it. "Thank you for your teachings, Shakyamuni." Ananda bowed deeply, expressing his profound gratitude. The Buddha smiled kindly and gently, then turned and continued walking forward. Ananda followed behind the Buddha, his heart filled with tranquility and strength. He realized that the ability to discern true from false Dharma is not acquired overnight, but requires continuous practice and contemplation to cultivate. With the Buddha's teachings today, he has obtained an important key that can help him avoid pitfalls on the path of practice and find the correct direction. The spring breeze rustles through the forest, producing a gentle whisper as if conveying some profound wisdom. Ananda carefully placed that page into a scripture as a memento of the Buddha's teaching on this occasion. He knows that whenever he faces confusion and bewilderment, this page of the book will remind him of the true essence of the Dharma. Simple yet profound, natural and authentic, like this page itself. Unpretentious yet containing infinite wisdom, uncomplicated yet guiding one into the ultimate truth of the universe. In the years that followed, whenever Ananda heard various intricate doctrines or saw practitioners disputing endlessly over dogmas, he would always recall that page of scripture and the Buddha's teachings. True Dharma does not lie in outward forms and rituals, but in the awakening and liberation of the mind. It is not about ornate words or profound theories, but whether it can help sentient beings transcend suffering and attain genuine freedom. This realization, like a bright lamp, illuminated Ananda's path of practice and will continue to illuminate the hearts of countless future followers.